So here we are looking at a typical dual idler drive table from underneath. First area of focus is the speed setting and pitch control section. So when the speed setting does not work properly, it is this area here where the shaft is lubricated, that moves up and down, that needs some attention. So in order to do that, what I've done in the past is if there's old grease in there, I've tried to get it out as much as I can. If it still does not want to move, I warm it up carefully with a hair dryer, with a blow dryer, get it to move, clean it with alcohol and a Q-tip, and then what I use for lubrication everywhere on these is liquid-bearing silicone grease. Does not evaporate as typical spray greases would. This mechanism down here is your pitch control. So that slightly moves the wheel up and down the shaft. Again, it doesn't matter if it's a 33, 45, 78. The mechanism here is all kind of the same. This one's plastic, some other ones are metal. But again, your primary area of focus is this shaft here that has dry grease in it. Then the next thing I look at is your start-stop lever. Your start-stop lever is here, but what is key to this is this area here. As you move it, this little pin has to slide into the notch. That means that everything underneath is moving freely. So it does this in the start position as well as in the stop position, but it will only go into the stop position once it's running. So your main area of focus here, again, when it comes to dry grease, is this axis here. On the 1228, there are only 2 items or 3 items connected to it. On some other dual turntables, this axis is much taller and there are other things attached to it as well. So what I've done in the past, again, I've tried to free up the mechanism here. This is your motor start-stop. As you can hear it click, right? So what you need to do is you need to make sure everything here moves freely. You see this is a flathead screw, but on the other hand, on the other side of this screw is a bolt, is a nut. You have to loosen that nut or maybe even take it off and then turn this with a little screwdriver and just get it moving. Once you get things moving again, you might be able to warm it up a little bit with a blow dryer, put a little bit of oil in there to get things moving. Things should move freely. Next thing I look at is your Steuer pimple. That sits in there. There is nobody home. You see the metal pin? See if I can focus in on it a little bit better. But there's nothing on it. Yet on this particular table, the auto start and auto stop still appear to work when I go through them by hand. But I will still install a new Steuer pimple here. What I use for that, believe it or not, is the plastic part of the speaker wire. So I think this is about a 14 or 16 gauge speaker wire. It's fairly thick. I cut a little piece of it off. I enlarge it a little bit with a little screwdriver, and I use a small set of needle nose pliers to put it on, and then it should stick out about 1 to 2 millimeters. This is a spring-loaded pin. Right there, let me get something to point at it. This is a spring-loaded pin. So as you push it on there, make sure it goes down quite a bit. And then let the plastic stick up on top, like I said, 1 to 2 millimeters. I put it on and then I snip it off to size with a pair of wire cutters. So those are the main areas I look at when it comes to an idler, drive, dual, turntable. Another thing I've seen every now and then is that this anti-skating disc is cracked, and it normally cracks right there where the hole is, between the hole and the outside. Again, there are ways to fix that. You can use a soldering iron, take it off, squeeze it back together, melt it a little bit so the crack doesn't get any bigger. This here is the arm lifting mechanism. I said something doesn't feel quite right here. It feels a little loose. There is a little nut on here that seems to be loose that I will be tightening so that the arm doesn't wiggle that much. Okay, I think that's it. Those are the areas you need to look at. Everything else in here gets a little dicey. This is the lever that changes from auto start to auto stop. Make sure this moves freely. There's one more thing I want to show you on the top when it comes to the auto stop.